Hello.
Hello, this is Thomas speaking.
Hi, Thomas. This is Priya and Lynn. Hello.
Hey, Priya-Lynn. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, perfect. Thanks that we could have this interview by phone because it's the end of the year, so the agenda is unfortunately quite busy, quite full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, we understand. But thank you so much for, agreeing to do the interview at the last minute.
Sure, no problem.
Thank
So you guys are now doing a project on sustainable HR practices,
Yes, yes.
and how's it going?
So far, we had to complete 3 chapters on introduction, then theoretical framework and methodologies part, which we completed. And the
Yeah.
professor, she had shared some feedback with us, which is quite good so far.
Okay. Yeah.
So so I mean, even she was feeling like, she was feeling a little apprehensive, as in, why we were the only one who had not finished the interview yet. So she was feeling a little apprehensive. So when we told her that we're going to interview you, so she was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's good.
Oh, perfect. And are you guys still enjoying HR? Oh, I hear some hesitation.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good that it's quite different than what I think we expected to be. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of research and a lot of assignments.
Yeah.
Good thing. Yeah, but like because there are so many, so we don't have enough time to
Yeah.
work on them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we just got carried away to finish all the assignments.
Yeah. So there's all this juggling act of studying as well as finishing the assignment.
Yeah, that's quite tough, huh?
Yeah.
But with regards to the content, is that still interesting?
Okay.
No, is that this question? Is the content still interesting, or the HR content?
Yeah, I mean, so far it has been so, but it's very research based, I think. That's what I would.
Yeah. So not necessarily on,
Yeah.
and experiencing in practice. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So should we start the interview?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I already sent some my first thoughts on a couple of questions.
Okay.
I think I sent it yesterday as attachment. Just had a quick glance because I saw that there were quite some questions. But I can, so where shall I begin? Shall I introduce myself, who I am?
Yeah. And please, because we are not able to see the attachment, so if we are repeating answers, which you have already answered, you could just say that, you have already answered that.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah. But it was a bit quick to have, okay. No, but it's good. Well, who I am? Well, Lynn, you probably already know, but no, my name is Thomas Stroomroos. I'm the HR manager of the site here in Utrecht.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working at the No Nutritia, but we in total we have 110,000 people employed, and at our location we have a bit over 700 people working. I've been working for Danone since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Started here. Oh wait, my master's, of course, because that was one of the questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a master in business administration, specialized in strategic HRM,
Mm-hmm.
and a master in psychology, specialized in labor and organization.
Mm-hmm.
I had the luminous idea of combining those two masters at the same time,
Okay.
and that is really a nightmare. But so after doing my master's, I wrote my thesis also at Danone, at the supply point, the factory, where I also was started to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Together with a colleague, we had assignment setting up a learning and development department, and actually setting the foundations of talent management at a supply point, at a factory, because there was absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 2011 until 2015. So I focused more and more on generic HR, and eventually I came into a crossroads where I had the possibility to grow within a supply point or go to another entity. I decided to go to another entity, to Nutrition Research Utrecht,
Mm-hmm.
to really work for R&D environment, because I want to work with a completely different population. And here I have a generic HR role, and I'm responsible because that was question number 2 or 3 top of my head. What does that entail, my current role? I'm responsible. Perhaps I can explain a little bit what we do on our site. Is that in our entity in Utrecht, we have approximately 700 people working, and we are the globally managing the research and development of the early life nutrition, so the infant milk formula, and of the advanced medical nutrition. So our managers and directors and VPs, they have a global scope. But my population is only the people who really have an Utrecht contract. And my responsibilities is, well, I'm responsible for the overall governance for us in the entity. So I'm part of the local management team. But we have quite a complex structure in place because we are a matrix organization, and actually in the matrix organization we have another matrix organization. So we are very project driven. Okay. So we completely split the hierarchical reporting line plus what people do on a day-to-day work basis. Okay. So I'm responsible for the general HR governance. I manage the internal communications team, or internal communication and employee engagement, I should say. Okay. I have the business partner cap, or the HR single point of contact cap on for really the site-based teams, like for example for my other HR colleagues, for legal, those kind of teams. Responsible for the social dialogue, so with the negotiations and the contacts with the local works council. For example, if we have reorganizations or changes in policies and those kind of topics. And I think that I hope those were my main responsibilities for our site. Okay. Yeah. So that was in a nutshell who I am and what I'm currently doing at the time.
So whom are you reporting currently in your?
I report to the HR director of R&R, of research and development, AMN and ELN. So to the head of HR. Okay. Of research, AMN and ELN.
Okay. And of course, you work full time, right, in your current position?
Well, I just started to having 1 day paternity leave.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thanks. So it's a struggle, but let's see if it works. Okay. No. So for now, I'm starting that a month and a half ago. But, so I'm currently working 0.8 FTE with the idea of after 2 years of working full time again. Okay. And so moving on, yeah. Could you share some sustainable HR policies and practices that you follow in Danone? Yeah. So with sustainability, you mean actually generic HR practices, but that's are recurring, right?
Okay, so sustainable HRM practices would be like anything that could, focus on like the employability, then vitality.
That way.
Yeah. The well-being.
Yeah. So on employability. Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important ones that we have for our site is we have fully implemented the flexible way of working. So flex working. Because for our site, we have a very young population, average age of 37, and 2/3 of them are female. And we see there is a high need for flexibility, not only with the location where you work. For example, people have a global scope there, so they need to travel around a lot. But also that they have the possibility to work 1 or 2 days a week from home. But also being flexible with regard to when you work, because we have a lot of young females, women working at our location who have young children. So what some of them do is that they start very early, so that they are home to pick up the kids, they work a couple of hours in the evening also, to make sure that they have enough, as much as contact with their kids as possible. And well, and not only for women, of course, also for me as a young father of two kids.
Mm-hmm.
This flexibility is really nice, and it helps to balance the home and the work, to balance it a bit. So, and this is what also, this is part of our employer value proposition. It's how we position ourselves in the market, and how do we make ourselves attractive for employees. And you see that this is really one of the things that especially millennials are really attracted to.
Yeah.
And what else with regard to employability?
Maybe some training or...
What we have is, but I'm not sure if it's directly linked to this, because what we have a performance and development cycle in place.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I find important is that we anchor things in the organization, that it's really, that it's sustainable, that's not a one-time off. So we frame practically everything we do in a standard performance and development cycle, HR cycle,
Mm-hmm.
where we focus on in the beginning of the year with really the target setting, what are the priorities of this year. And what we do is that we spend a lot of time, we position ourselves also that we focus a lot on development and talent reviews, on boosting the careers of our employees. So what we have is that we have talent reviews for all the 100,000 Danones that we have, or the 700 in Utrecht.
Mm-hmm.
We assess and discuss their talent. We call it the grow agility, how flexible they are, and we build internal talent pipelines and career plans and career mappings actually. Mm-hmm. To increase the internal mobility, so the internal promotion rate that we have. And so that is one of the employability or sustainable HR practices that we have. But another thing that we are currently looking at, but is unfortunately still a taboo on it, is demotion. How do we manage people who are at the end of their careers?
Okay.
Because what you see now in in general in the current working field is that it's always that there is a feeling that it's or you move up in your you make a promotion, or you leave the organization. So there is a taboo on staying in your current position in HR, for example. After 3 years, it's expected that we move.
Mm-hmm.
But what we are exploring is what are the possibilities to demote, to build up, to reduce the amount of hours that you work. For example, if you are 55 or 60, to reduce the amount of hours that you work, and in combination of also reducing responsibilities that you have, so that we retain the knowledge that is specialist, because we have mainly specialists working in our site, that we have enough time for knowledge transfer, but also that they can take back a step, because the prognosis for me personally is that I need to work until I'm 72, 73. I can't proceed for additional 40 years to have this constant rush that I need to have a promotion, I need to work 40 hours a week, I need to perform. At a certain moment, I can imagine that I want to build off the responsibilities that I have within the organization. So these are things that we are now piloting with.
Okay.
And the first signals that we get are very positive on this one.
Okay.
And what else is that, development, like I said, we work in a research and development organization. So we work with a lot of scarce profiles, and of which there are most of the time only globally, 20, 30 people who have the relevant experience and that we need. So what we do, especially within our location, is that we spend a lot of time on development and having development conversations. Is what do you want to? How do your 3 to 5 years look like? And what is blocking you? How can we facilitate this? Do you need to have trainings, or do you need to have mentoring or on-the-job training? To have more insights on that. So that is how we give more hands and feet on development. So that is one of the sustainability practices that we have.
But
yeah.
yeah, but for development, how do you choose the employees? Do you like only choose the high performers, or it's like everyone is included in that?
For the development conversations?
Yeah.
No, we have everybody has a development plan, and we strictly monitor it to safeguard that this is actually happening.
Okay.
So so when I talk about all the employees, well, we outsourced all the admin tasks. So it's really R&D people and staff functions that we have on site. But everybody here has a development plan, has the possibility to follow trainings, for example.
Okay.
But the same for the talent reviews. So what we do with the talent reviews is that based on together with the head of the functions within the Benelux, Belgium, the Netherlands, we discuss the talents, all the people that we have, for example, within packaging. So here everybody is discussed, but then at a higher level, at a region level, at the Europe level, we discuss the talents that we have within this group. And then the third level is on a global level, so worldwide. We discuss the talented people at a certain level to help them to accelerate their career progression.
Okay.
So that's with how we approach it. So we try not to filter it on how is somebody, well, what kind of talent label does somebody have. Because that's, 1 second, I'm losing my voice a little bit.
Okay, sure.
What some organizations do, like for example L'Oreal, they focus a lot on their top potential directors, but they don't focus on the other groups, the other population. Okay. And how what we see, what will bring us a sustainable competitive advantage, is really about focusing on everybody's talent. So on all the 110,000 people that we are working within our organization. So that is really a key part of our strategy.
Okay, great. Any other that you could think of? Any other practices?
No, those are, we have all kinds of things, but it's not necessarily directly linked to employability. But what we have is that we have a current engagement program where we, how shall I frame it? Well, we have a yearly employee satisfaction survey, and based on this, we form per department action groups on what are the things that we need to improve in our work environment to make it more sustainable, right? That we don't burn out. Because what you see in general in the workforce is that there is a rapid increase within the Netherlands, at least. There is a rapid increase of burnout. And that's why we're now focusing a lot of engagement and also how can we create sustainable engagement to make sure that our people know that they can express their minds when the work tempo is getting too high. That the line managers and the department directors help them with the prioritization, make sure that we are not using up all of our employees, to also help them maintaining their well-being and the home work balance, for example.
Yeah.
And the energy level.
Yeah.
And on the top of my head, those are the main practices that we implement.
Yeah. Like you mentioned burnout particular part. I wanted to talk specific to that. Like any practices that you focus on, like health and safety, reduce stress or maybe well-being or to reduce.
Yes. We have a very extensive health and well-being, or we call it safety in the broader sense, so safety and mental safety. Where shall I start? We approach it from different angles. We have I'm part of the health, safety, environment steering committee for the site, And here this is a bit of a governance steering committee to make sure that what kind of initiatives do we have, what are the gaps, and what do we need to initiate. But a great part of it is to make use of the power of the employees, use their enthusiasm to work on certain topics. And so we have a lot of bottom-up initiatives. And bottom-up, we use 5 pillars to identify what is actually what does our well-being entail at nutrition research, or actually within the known. One of them focusing on healthy lifestyle, so exercising, healthy food. So what we do, for example, for our site, is that we facilitate that people can give internal classes. So people give yoga classes, lunge stretching, salsa dancing, mindfulness. So we facilitate that the owners train other people on how to do this. And we focus on healthy meals. So in the canteen, we always have a healthy solution in place. For example, a lot of fruits. And some departments offer free food for their teams. But that depends more on the teams that you have. And for more from the top down, we also there have multiple pillars. One of them is, of course, focusing on trainings. So it's about well-being and resilience for the people themselves, for the owners themselves, to know what is stress actually, and to be aware of it. But what is also very important is to have such a training in place for team leaders, for line managers. And how do you recognize it with your N-1s, with your team members? And this is quite hard. So this is quite an extensive training that we provide. And next to this, we have because these 2 are optional, so people can apply for it. But we have a mandatory training for all the line managers. So in our site, we have 170 line managers, and they are all trained on the basics on safety and the basics on health and well-being. And what is important for stress prevention, it sounds very easy, but to have a one-on-one structure in place is that everybody has weekly or bi-weekly one-on-ones with their line manager, where they discuss, one of the fixed points on the agenda is workload. How are they doing? And like I said, it sounds easy, but I come from a supply point where this is not common practice that you discuss these kind of things with your manager. And for us as a site, it's quite important because due to the global scope that our people have, it quite often occurs that this is the only contact moment they have with their line manager. For example, I have it once every, how often do I have it? Every 4 weeks, I think, with my line manager, with my HR director. But this is actually most of the time, the only time in this month that I see him.
Oh.
So this is because, that's due to the global scope that our colleagues have. They travel a lot, but also quite often they manage a team abroad. For example, just before this call, I had a meeting with the department head of the department, and he's actually managing nobody in Utrecht, but a team in Singapore. So and that's why it's important to have this proximity, and that's why we have this one-to-one structure in place.
Okay.
So these are a couple of practices that we have, but we have much more. For example, that it's for the people in Utrecht, it's mandatory to start every meeting that lasts more than an hour with a safety or a well-being contact, where we discuss a one-pager or a topic concerning safety or mental safety. And why this is so important for us is for our site, we have 40-something different nationalities. But you see, especially from people coming from the previous Soviet Union and the Asian countries, for them there is a big taboo on talking about well-being, talking about stress. So we will only notice when people drop, when it's too much, and that's a major concern that we have. And we try to create a safe environment where they feel that we expect them to speak up if it's too much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, so how important do you feel it is, practicing, it is in practice in line with the sustainable HRM practices?
A key, fundamental. And this is, it goes up to the last week we had a meeting with our 3 vice presidents of research and development, and there it was all again stated as it's one of their 6 main priorities.
Okay. Okay. And next question: why were some of the practices implemented?
Why we implemented it?
Yeah.
We try to have a very targeted approach by first looking at what is our population and what are the key issues that we face, and the employee survey helps us a lot with this. And why these practices? Mainly because of the population that we have, is that we see there is a high need for flexibility, and I have a total inclusive approach. So that's why we have this flexible ways of working policy, for example, implemented to make sure that we attract and that we retain the young female colleagues that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't, for supply points within the known, there you see that their population is aging a lot. So there the practices are quite different than for our entity. There it's more about how do you manage the end of their working life cycle. But for us, it's more creating the flexibility that they can balance work and life as best as possible.
Okay.
So that's the rationale behind it.
Okay. And which one do you think your Danone focuses most on, and why?
Who? Danone as a company, or we as an entity? We as a location?
You as a location.
We as a location, talent development. I think that's a crucial one for us, and that's also besides our demographics. Of course, we are a research center specialized in all kinds of small niches. So that is definitely a very, very, very important one for our population, to make sure that we build up the expertise, that we keep them in the organization, but also that we manage their careers. Because one of the pitfalls of the expert development and expertise is that you don't have that many career steps, because you go even more into depth. But what you don't want to do is that you fall in the management trap. At a certain moment, if you are a specialist in, let's say, gut and microbiotics, the logical step is, or the intuitive step is, then we make it a manager. But if somebody is really a specialist, I can be clear about that. That most of the time doesn't mean that this person is a good line manager. Actually, quite often it is not the case. So then we need to reward them and recognize them in different ways. So that's the biggest risk that we have there. So that's the most important element that we have in place for our organization.
Yeah. Okay. And also you said that because it's scarce also, right? The resources.
Yes.
For your organization.
Yeah. For example, we sometimes we need to recruit a professor in, let's say the gut and microbiotics. Well, there are 5-6 worldwide. So that is quite tough. Or to have really principal scientists, that is, it's very hard to find them.
Okay. So, in your opinion, how does sustainable HRM practices help for your career path?
For my own, or for within the company?
No, for you.
For me, myself?
Yeah.
Well, for my career path, because there is a lot of focus on talent, and I see it in practices that Danone really, we use the pull and push method. Is that as an employee I can search for next steps, but also within the organization, they are actively looking for me. The talent managers are actively helping me with managing my career and proposing new career steps. Even if though I because what we the philosophy that we have is that internally we prepare people for next steps, but actually for a next step of which they are not on the spot ready, but that they go into a development plan of 2 years. So with this approach, you build up your internal talent pipeline and make yourself also attractive as an employer because you actively develop your employees. You help them a lot. And that is also the case with me. When I joined research, I started as I didn't know anything about the overall HR governance of social dialogues. So there I had this case it was a 1-year development plan where I shadowed the HR director that was working there and took over some tasks. So that is how it affects my personal career path.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about the employee's career path?
The same, in a similar way. Yeah. What we do there is that we open up their what talent managers there do is that they bring them in contact with different entities, because most of the time you only have the proximity. You see the next steps within your own location. Mm-hmm. But for our counterparts who work more in the dairy products and in the waters like the Evian, they might have similar roles available in, for example, France. Mm. So we also there broaden their horizon and create proximity, that the directors there know them, but also that they know that there are possible next steps for them abroad.
Okay. Okay. And so, which work group do you think, according to you, is the SHRM, the sustainable HRM practices targeted at? Like, for example, young population or aging or women or
in our population, it's the semi-young people. So it's the age group of 30 to 40. Okay. Why 30? Because most of the time when people join our organization, they are around 32, because we have, I think, a bit more than 1/3 to half of the population has a PhD. Mm. So they enter the labor market quite late. But it's also the moment that they want to start a family and that riddle. Yeah.
Okay. And could you see any benefits or maybe some advantages of the practices for the work? Like, for example, maybe on performance or maybe.
Well, the one of the disadvantages of flexibility is the lack of control that you have. And that's the same a little bit with proximity actually. And those are actually, I see it as two counterparts. So you have flexibility on the one hand, but you want to control. How do you know that people actually work? Especially if you don't monitor, we don't have a booking system in place. And for the type of work that our people do, it's quite hard to steer on output. Actually, that's almost impossible. We try to do it as much as possible for the roles that, for example, working on projects. They need to indicate how many hours they actually work on a project. But it's a lack of control, and that's quite sometimes difficult. But this is also something that we need to be very aware of if we have in the recruitment phase, of course, that we hire the right people. But also if somebody's not performing, what is triggering that? Because providing flexibility also requires giving trust to the employees. I trust that you are mature enough to know how to do your work. At the same time, safeguarding that they really can disconnect. And that is, I think, even a greater risk due to this flexibility. And me, myself, also, I have my phone almost grew into my hand. So what I now do is that at 8 p.m. I turn off my laptop, I really shut down my telephone, and I don't look at it. But due to this flexibility, there is a tendency to always look at your emails or to continuously start working, for example, in the evening. And those are the two main pitfalls. So control and how you safeguard the home work life, the work life balance.
Okay. And any disadvantage that you feel?
Yeah, these are the disadvantages.
Okay. So then maybe some of the advantages that you feel?
Oh, the advantages.
Yeah.
From an employee perspective, that they can arrange their job and their work life how they see fit.
Mm-hmm.
And a really important one from the organization is you have super engaged employees, and they are more than willing to go beyond contract.
Wow.
And but for us, the major risk is that our people are over engaged. They are too engaged. We need to slow them down.
Okay.
Yeah, and why I'm saying that's a risk, because there is a tendency, if you are over engaged, to burn down, to burn out.
Oh, okay.
And that is why we need to safeguard that, because yes, it's good that you are ambitious, that you want to work for the organization, but it's not good if you want to work 40, 50, 40 is okay, but 50, 60 hours a week. So that is the struggle that we face. But for the organization, yeah, there are a lot of advantages, also with retaining people, of course. Yeah, I think those are the main advantages.
So, but have you all, done some practices or implemented some rules or maybe some guidelines as to prevent people from over engagement, like maybe have a specific timing, not to, send emails or stuff like that?
Yeah, we manage that on department level because we see that there are big differences between the teams. To give a concrete example, first we started with the idea that we would like to have an overall email etiquette when you send emails, when you are allowed to send emails. Well, the management, and for example myself, I added to below my signature is that I don't expect.
I saw that.
Oh yeah. No, but and I think that is more the signal that you give. I don't expect that you reply to my email when you are not working. And it sounds easy, yeah, but this is a feeling that a lot of people have. They treat emails just like, well, this is urgent, I need to respond to it. But no, you should see an email like getting a letter. You're not, I hope, not sitting behind the pigeonhole, constantly checking, do I get a new letter? Refresh. If it's urgent, call or send a text message. And that is a culture that we really need to work on and embed. And for example, the email etiquette, we tackle it at department level because some teams, they need to deviate from these rules. Because one of the proposals that we have is that there are fixed hours that you are not allowed to send emails, and they have it, for example, at Audi. But for us, that's not possible because we have a big research group located in Singapore, for example, on clinical studies. Well, if you want to work with the people from clinical studies, you actually quite often need to open up you need to interact with them during very early in the morning. Or if you have a team in the US, you need to get out work with them when it's quite late. So that's why we tackle it really on department level. And I think that's the most important one. And for HR, we have the rule that we don't send emails after Friday 6 until Monday 7. You are allowed to work in the weekend because sometimes I like to work in the weekend because the advantage is you don't get any replies, so you really get things done. But I'm not allowed to censor the emails immediately. So I need to wait until Monday 7, and I can send them all out.
So, but is that done, consciously by all line managers?
So by the department directors, yes. Okay. This is one of the main things that because what we have is that we have a very diverse population. So based on it's actually directly linked with the employee survey. Is because for some departments, stress and disconnection is not an issue, then they don't need to take any actions on that. They can focus on some other elements. For example, decision making. But if the department, if the employees of the department indicate, yes, I have trouble with disconnecting, then they need to focus on this topic.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so from the management point of view, what do you feel, what are the advantages that they feel regarding the current HR, sustainable HR policies and practices?
Well, especially the career and the whole talent management part. This is really part of the broader than known culture, and they see the added value of it. And even they want to push it further. Right? They want to do it. We do more on expert development, for example. And so they really endorse it, but they also want that we do more because they so see that there is an added value of these in these sustainable HR practices. What helps is that most of them, I think all of them, were specialists. So they have a PhD in some way related to food science, or have a medical degree. So they know why this retainment of knowledge, of expertise, is crucial for our business.
Mm-hmm.
And with regard to the flexibility, well, there is some discussion sometimes, but in general they support it. But it doesn't help if they have a team member who is not performing, or has some difficulties with getting their job done. Then it would like to have more control, to have more proximity with this person. But in general, they fully support the practices that we have.
Okay. And any disadvantage that they feel that it may lead to?
Well, the control part, because you will always have people who like to have more control, and like I said, the flexibility goes hand in hand with trust. And if the trust is reduced, or if the trust is gone, then that's a huge disadvantage. So that's a huge disadvantage. That you don't, it's more difficult to control what people are actually doing.
But any measure that you feel that you could include to avoid that?
What we do is that we have a part of our policy. If people are underperforming, if they get a performance appraisal score of 4, that improvement is needed. Then we have room to deviate from the good policies or the guidelines. That we restrict it more. That they need to work on more on location. That we need to ensure there is more proximity, and that is how we try to tackle that as much as possible.
Okay.
Which is not easy.
Okay. Any other organization that you feel is also practicing employability policy? Any maybe a competitor or any other organization that you're familiar with?
Yeah, we try to work as much as possible with external organizations. So, for example, we are part of the AWVN, that's the employer organization within the Netherlands. And the main thing that we do there is discuss trends, of course, but also exchange best practices. For example, on employability or health and well-being. But what you see in organizations is that for well-being, for example, the main emphasis is still on providing training. Why this is, and I strongly believe this is not the practice how you're going to win the war, how you're going to improve the well-being of people. But that I see is the main trend with regard to well-being, and with regard to talent development. This is really something where we are ahead of the competition.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And now it's key to stay ahead of the competition, of course.
Okay. Do you work together with other organizations or institutes in order to develop your employability policy and practices?
Myself, I don't, but our end users, employees do. Because what we do, we work a lot with the universities. So we have 6, 7, or 8 department directors who also are a professor at the university. So we work a lot together with them to have a close connection with the scientific field. But for employability practices, Not with other employers. We have some suppliers, of course, but that's
Mm-hmm.
really what you mean, right?
Yeah, maybe like, maybe or a competitor or someone who's in the same field, like,
No. That we don't do. No.
like a
And that's also
collaborative.
no, and that's also on purpose because with regard to retainment, and we see that there is a lot of headhunting going on in our field.
Mm-hmm.
So no, for some parts of the organization, we try to safeguard and not to get too much proximity with other employers. For example, with the Friesland Campinas or the Nestle's and the
Yeah. Correct.
yeah.
Okay, so in your organization, who's in charge basically of building or creating sustainable HRM?
That's a complicated question because we have a complicated organization. Actually, we have 3 different organizations under the same roof, plus some small teams who don't report to any of these 3.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end of the day, what we have today, it's me and the HR director together with the couple of management teams.
Okay.
But what we see more is that we as HR, we are the facilitators. It's the line management. It's their responsibility. They need to do it, and we are there to safeguard that certain things happen and to facilitate. That is our role. But the eventual the owner of this is really the business.
Okay. So could you just briefly elaborate, like what would be your role on that specifically?
Yeah. No. So it's together with the management teams and the department directors to investigate what are things that is missing, what is lacking, what is holding us back, and whatever based on their feedback, we propose to implement things, or we implement certain practices. But to make it land in the organization, to really make sure that people do it, you need to have the management commitment. And with commitment, I mean ownership.
Yeah.
It should not be, well, in Dutch we say in an HR party, we should not be the one leading it. And that is one of the realizations that we get in the last couple of years, is that the business should sponsor it, should own it, and we are there to, of course, push it forward, and might be in a sort of a project lead role. But for the end of the day, we need to involve the business, and they need to drive it, because else it will fade away after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay.
That's why I emphasize that the business is really the owner.
Okay. So basically, you're saying that the top management's participation or support is there.
Yes.
So do they support in every stage of sustainable HRM?
No. They are just with sponsoring the basic concepts. Do they agree that we launch a certain project, that we implement it, and if they give the green light, then we go.
Okay.
So it's together with the vice presidents, but at a more practical level, then we discuss it more with the directors that we have. Give them more heads and feet. So for the VPs, it's really high level.
Okay. So apart from what you mentioned so far, is there any other new initiatives that your company has implemented recently?
Today we launch, what we have within the known, this is also one of our pitfalls, is that we are sometimes a bit too much creative energy, and we have a tendency to launch too many things. But the advantage is that you keep on innovating. So, for example, what we launched today is disruptive, what's the English word for it? Uncomfortable situations.
Okay.
We now launch a program focusing on uncomfortable situations. How do you indicate if you don't like something, and how do you respond to it? For example, it focuses on inclusive diversity, but also focusing on well-being. How do you discuss it when the workload is too high? Actually, when you're experiencing symptoms of burnout, when somebody made an inappropriate joke, when you actually that you are being pushed to go for a next career step, but actually you're fine at the role that you currently have. How do you engage in these kind of conversations? So that is one of the practices, as an example, that we launched today.
Any particular reason as to why you felt that needs to be initiated?
Yeah, because what we experience is that our people find it very difficult to give feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and we see there is a big net of cultural influence,
Mm-hmm.
that people don't feel up that they can speak up. While what we want to achieve as an organization is to create a culture of that you can express everything. Well, of course, taking the setting into consideration, but we want to avoid group thinking at any cost, but also that you can express it if you dislike something and if you or like something. But we want to focus really on creating a safe environment, but also the people that they are equipped to speak up.
Okay.
But it's the working especially with such so many cultures that we have in our location that creates also a lot of difficulties. And that's why we are focusing on this practice right now.
Mm-hmm. In regards to Netherlands, which market developments have you noticed with regard to the sustainable policy for your or in your organization?
Yeah, what we see multiple things. I'm not sure. Flex working, is that also working with externals? Is that there is a due to the Employer Act, for example, we see that it is less attractive as an employer and more risky to work with externals. So that is a major trend that we see that highly impacts how we work and also how our workforce is set up. So for example, we are now offering more people really a known contract instead of hiring them as freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that there is a need for flexibility in ways of working and a working location, especially working from home. You see that is a trend.
Okay. For Danone, how have financial developments affected the company? Is it like in a positive way or a negative impact?
We have the advantage that as an organization we are doing really good.
Okay.
So that helps that you have, if a organization is struggling, then you see that all the not primary costs are being cut. So for us, we have an advantage that is not the case for us. So we still focus on a lot of these initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the same time, what we do see is that we need to give a good and solid reason why we spend the money the way we do. So a bit of we call it a zero-based budget approach. You don't get a general budget,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to indicate what are you going to do, how much money do you need, and take that into your budget. And that is a change of new ways of working that we implemented 2-3 years ago, because we need to spend our money right.
Okay. Danone as an organization, does it encourage employment of physically challenged employees?
Yeah, physically challenged, that's no problem for our organization.
Okay.
But the tendency, the difficulty that we have with people because I am involved and work together with people in Utrecht or a group that are focusing on reintegrating people with a distance to the labor market. But what we experience there, what I experienced there, is that our work is too specialized and highly skilled for this population. So for the mentally impaired, it's difficult, and especially combined that we work in niches.
Mm-hmm.
But for physically, that's definitely not a blocker for our entity. And in all honesty, if you find a biostatistician, we don't care if this person is in a wheelchair. We are happy that we found somebody. And what we do is that we work together with Albron. That's the supplier of a canteen, and they recruit and they hire people with a disability.
Oh. Okay.
Not physically, but more mentally.
Okay. So, as you mentioned that for your organization there is shortage of the right skills, the right people from the right technical skills.
Yeah.
So what do you do as an organization to fulfill it?
Wow. A lot of things. The main, I think, key is making sure we are attracted by what experts want. They want to develop. They want to grow. They want to grow with the content. So we offer a lot of training facilities and training programs, training academies. Because what is interesting then when you work with other experts is that we have the worldwide experts on certain life sciences in our organization, in our site. So for some fields, like for example process development, we had a special academy set up by that, where the experts in their field educate them on, for example, spray drying or those kind of processes. So focusing on the development part, but also on the talent part, that if they have interest in an international career, that we offer those the possibility, and that we actively help them with that. And create the flexibility that also makes us an attractive employee or employer. And for the rest, headhunting helps, knowing where are the people working, and working with innovating sourcing strategies, sourcing tools, to make sure that we really target the right population.
Okay.
So, for example, we are looking for a lot of biostatisticians, or actually statisticians with a certain specialization. But we know that there is a campus in Europe where a lot of them work. Well, then we work together. We now work together with an agency who can target the commercials, the advertisements that these people in a certain location get with a certain profile. So we really target, instead of sending an advertisement to, let's say, 200,000 people, we send an advertisement to 200 people with the right profile, the right experience that we actually want. And these kind of things we use to get the right people. Plus, we use our newly recruited employees as talent scouts, simply by asking them who are actually the talent in your previous organization, and would there be a good cultural and content fit with our organization.
Okay. And the last question from me would be, do you feel that sustainable HRM fits with the demands from the market?
Yes, definitely. It's almost a must if you want to survive nowadays.
And could you tell us how does that?
With the work that we do, we need to focus a lot on, well, we live in a VUCA environment. It's hard to complex which direction trends are going, which skills we need, and the complexity is enormous. So we need to focus, and most likely the work that our people now do is completely different in 5 years. So we need to have this continuously development mindset in place. Else, well, their skill set is obsolete in 5 years. Well, let's say 10 years, they are out of a job. So that's why there's continuously focus on talent and talent development, and development in general is crucial for us as an organization, but also to make sure you are still external employable.
Okay.
Yeah. At this moment, if you stop developing your professional, you will die. You will be extinct. That's also why this age, what I hear is talk about trends, is I've heard that the coming 20 years will be the age of the extinction of the multinationals, because multinationals have the tendency to be rigid, not to be agile, not to adapt. Because for startups, that people develop much faster, and they are much more able to anticipate and to work on the business trends. That's why we really need to have this mindset, this grow mindset.
Okay, Thomas, that's it from my side. Now Lynn will take over and.
But Thomas, do you still have time for the interview? Or?
Yeah, sure. I'm still driving. No, I have 10 more minutes, but let's see if we can Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And the topic that I would start is about the external general of the institutional context.
Yeah.
And my first question would be, which developments do you see in the area of law that that affect the establishment of the sustainable HRM inside the norm? Is it
It depends. For the Dutch context, most likely, yeah. It's really for us the Employer Act, the Wetwerk en Zekerheid, that has a major impact in how we work, and especially because we used to have a huge 20% external layer
yeah.
to create the flexibility in the workforce. But that is actually we now dramatically need to reduce that.
Okay, so right now, do you feel that the current HR, the sustainable HR policy in the non-fit with the within the law?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That is a license to operate. That's something that we monitor quite closely. Yeah, and assess yearly.
Okay. So can I assume from the answers that both the pressure from the work household, for example, or the law and the market trend, it is the reason that you have the sustainable HRM inside the norm, or
Yeah, it's indeed really targeted at. Part of it is how do you want to position ourselves as employer, and part of it is that we really identify that this is something that needs to be to of course to stay competitive, but also to survive. Yeah,
okay.
so that's definitely true. Yeah.
Okay, and okay, I wanted to check on this aspect. So, which development have you experienced with regard to the values people attach in terms of more like the trends in society that you feel?
Yeah. What I see is a major trend. Well, autonomy was always there, so that is not really something that is changing. The need for autonomy. But what I see is, I'm not sure if you know the three drivers of people there is that want autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And there is a shift going on. Is that purpose is being more and more important. They want to have a purpose-driven company. They want to work. They want that their work has meaning. That they are contributing to something. And this is something that is also important for us as an organization. How what we really believe in is that, of course, we are a employer that wants to make profit, but at the same time, what we focus on is, we call it one planet, one health, is that, okay, it's okay that we want to have a profit, but if there is not a world and not a healthy world to live in, that's also not, then we can't operate anymore. So that is one of the important factors that we are focusing on these years. And allocate a lot of resources on, and also the health of the consumers and our employees. So it's really about purpose-drivenness. That is really something that we see that is really important.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and the next one would be I would want to learn more about the internal organizational context. You said earlier that most of the employees are from like the professionals, the professors from the university, right?
Yeah.
But are there any other kinds of employees inside the site, or just mostly professors?
No. Yeah, we have a very broad range of people working for us. So because we work in a lot of small niches, so we have. Indeed, we have professors, but we have also a lot of people working on. I think half of the population works about process development, product development, and packaging development. Well, I would say 1/3 of the population.
Yeah.
And that's the development part of research and development, and then the research part. Those are really professors, scientists, people who have a very close relationship with the scientific field, and who do principal studies and elementary studies and check what are the practical implications for this. And their focusing is on publishing papers. So scientists is focusing on publications versus development. Okay, what can we actually do with it? How can we improve the product, or how can we actually even make a product?
Okay.
And then we have all kinds of staff functions like legal, patents, those kind of work groups.
Yeah. So do all of the departments, they coordinate a lot with each other, or they just work independently?
No, they work a lot with each other. Because what we have is that we have a matrix organization. We are not, well, hardly we are set up as a department, but we are being managed by projects. Let's say the cross-functional teams.
Yeah.
So we have a scientist working together with somebody who specializes in creating a product, how to check, how certain somebody specialized in gut microbiotics with the immune systems. So they are centered around a topic. So there is a enormous amount of interaction. Also with the fields outside of research, so with a marketing and sales team, or with the supply points, with the factories.
Okay, so most like generally speaking, like people will be divided into the team that is according to the project they're working on.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say that the work tasks are predictable within the side of the non?
No, definitely not. We are one of the things that characterizes our population is that we have a lack of structure. That makes us, on one hand, more agile, more adaptable to trends, but on the other hand, it's highly volatile.
Okay, so it's not easy to predict at all, to be predicted at all.
No, it's definitely not easy to predict.
So I think that it would not be easy for an employee to be replaced by someone else if they are off from the side.
No. That's it's difficult with regard to the people that we are looking for. Indeed, because we look for highly agile people, combined with a high level of content, and that's not necessarily a easy combination to find.
Yeah, and I also saw that like inside the non, the flexibility is quite popular. But for example, if there is like an emergency case and that employee is like we cannot find anyone to replace him, and then
maybe like in terms of succession planning, I guess.
Most of the time we found a solution, and that there's always but it might be that there is a high risk of loss of somebody. If this person leaves the organization, that the project will be delayed. For these roles, so with a high impact and high risk of loss, it's mandatory to have a successor in place. It sounds ideal, and it doesn't always work like this. But it might be that if indeed a key person leaves the organization, that some projects will be delayed.
So
but we try to avoid that via succession planning. But you can't avoid everything, unfortunately.
But it would be like the responsibility of that person only, not right, and it's not like it's not like the organization that would take responsibility for it if they because of the flexibility.
What we have is that for every individual during the talent reviews, where we assess the talents, we also assess what is the risk that somebody leaves, how high is the chance that somebody will leave the organization. So how attractive are they for the labor market, and how happy are they in their role? And we assess what is the impact of the organization if they leave the organization, because it might be that if they leave, well, we highly appreciate this person, but we can recruit somebody new and have them fully up and ready within 6 months. Then the impact is not that high. So we assess this on for everybody on a yearly basis.
Okay.
But then it's up to the department heads how to manage the resources.
Can you please describe the diversity within your organization?
On which elements?
Like maybe their demography.
Maybe age, gender.
So the average age is between 37 and 38.
Yeah.
We have a bit more than 40 nationalities. What is it? 45, 46, something like that, I think. Two-thirds of the population is female. I think, unfortunately, still a lot of them. I think half the population is Dutch.
Yeah.
Even though we have so many nationals walking around.
Yeah.
A high percentage of part-time workers. And what else is key here? I think the
Yeah. And
I think though, yeah. So, and with regard to the geographics, we have most of the people that we recruit. We have a lot of them come from Asia and from Europe and from Latin American.
yeah. What about the full-time and part-time employees? Or maybe do you think that there are more part-time directors, for example, or more part-time or more employees who take the part-time job?
You see here, on director level, practically nobody works part time because for this role, for the directors and the VPs, that's not really feasible due to the intensity of the role. Because if you are a director of a department, it should not be the case, but you should be standby actually always. And a popular saying, something that I hear quite often is, because they have a global scope, there's always a crisis somewhere in the world. And they, as a director, are responsible of making sure that it's being solved by the team.
Yeah. And also because there are a lot of types of employees inside the non, so I guess they have also different requirements or demands from them to the non, right?
Yeah. That's.
So can you please specify some kind of requirements that they often propose to the non, and how does the non solve those how the non do to meet those demands of the employees?
Yeah. I think an important difference is, we have a lot of young women working here.
Yeah.
That's an important one, and we have a lot of people working further away from Utrecht. For example, myself, I work in Den Bosch, but we also have colleagues, for example, working in Roermond or living in Roermond. So they need to travel a lot. But we need to create flexibility because if you stand, because the traffic, unfortunately, in the Netherlands is not so good. But providing flexibility and more individual approach, for example, with flexibility, is that, it makes a difference for me. If like today, I traveled in the traffic jam, then I need to drive an hour and a half. Yeah. While outside of traffic jam, I'm home in 35 minutes. So what we do to tackle that is that we use a very flexible and individualistic approach. Mm-hmm. And we try to give the employees as much as not only autonomy but flexibility as possible, because they can fit their lives and their working lives how they see fit, while of course ensuring that they can perform. Mm-hmm. And that is because you see indeed so much diversity. For example, if you have a sick parent, this flexibility is evenly relevant than if you are young kids, for example.
Okay. And yeah.
So it's tailor-made specifically for individuals, right?
Yes. We have a very individualistic organization, and that's why we have not so much real clear policies, because we have guidelines how we recommend to approach things, but then it's up to the department to fine tune it really for their teams. Is this indeed relevant for the organization? Because we have a lot of, like I said, our people have a global scope, so we also have people who need to travel a lot, and this also impacts how they look at their life actually. Because we have people who would like to have a 9-to-5 job. We have people who want to work, are really career driven, want to travel a lot, want to focus solely on work. And by providing them this flexibility, we tackle both possibilities.
Okay. And
And flexibility is in the broader sense of the word, of course, not only working hours or location, but as what we aim for is that we focus on the performance. How is somebody performing? The how they do it and what they do, but that is key. How you do it, that's fully up to you.
So it's like the reward-based performance.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And also, the next question would be, what skills are needed for the non-staff to achieve good performance, in your opinion?
What do you mean with skills?
I mean like maybe some
Like competencies?
yeah, like the competency or
A broad range of them. I think what is key,
yeah,
this
key,
is
yeah,
really
yeah.
Now, what is really crucial, it's not really a competency, but more a mindset, is about really agility, flexibility, to adapt and to learn and adapt to new situations. Because, like I said, the environment that you work on keeps on changing and very, very rapidly. So that's a certain skill set, but also so we have the agility, but also proactiveness, and that's more of an attitude.
Yeah. So
because
yeah. But they are not like job specific skills, but more general skills, right?
Well, we also have we call it a strategic workforce planning. Which competencies do we need for the future? That is highly dependent on which field you are working on. So we have teams that really need to work on, let's call artificial intelligence and working on big data.
Yeah.
And other teams, they need to focus more on running simulations. For example, instead of that you need to do factory trials, it's much more cost efficient and time efficient if you can simulate it. And that is really booming right now. But it's a not so well explored territory right now. So those are, but that really depends on what kind of field this person is working on, because we have such a dispersed population that makes it quite difficult. But we have these competencies per development. And what is more general for our R&D population is that what we are now focusing on is developing competencies to getting their message across, because we work a lot together with people from marketing and sales, and these are really slick people who have they are very outram. They know what to say, how to engage people, how to influence people. And scientists, of course, are less prone to this. So this is something how we want to develop them, that they are at least equal partners with the marketing and sales teams.
Okay. Yeah. And what about the culture inside the side of the non? How would you describe it?
I think one of we have some key things that we want to see in the organization and the employees. And I think if I would summarize it, I think openness is very important.
Yeah.
It's crucial. We are an informal organization, and it's you should be able to speak up what you are thinking to avoid group thinking, of course. But this is really something that is we want to have a feedback culture in the organization, also to be aware of blind spots to continuously improve. But what is currently very important is self-awareness, being aware who you are as a person, what gives you energy, what drains your energy, maintain your self-balance, so that you don't burn out, for example, and that you know which competency do you not have. For example, I am not a creative brain, so I make sure that within my team, I gather a team around me who is very high on yellow energy, who is very creative, who compensate that for me.
Okay. So since feedback and openness is a part of the culture of the norm, so can I assume that the employees, they are empowered to do their own job, or they are empowered to make important decisions?
Yes. Yes, they are important. Yes.
And how would you describe the style of leadership inside the company?
What you see in general trend is from that everybody, and also we move away from directive leadership more to the inspiring and coaching, but especially the coaching one with the feedback is actually We have I think that we are actually already quite far with this, is having really a coaching culture in place. That you don't only coach your team members,
Yeah.
but also the people around you, the people who you work with in projects, for example. Asking the right questions, focusing on asking questions, sincere listening, instead of telling people what to do.
Okay. Is it like the one-on-one coaching style?
Nah, also, but it's broader than that. It's really what we do, and it's about having genuine interest in the other person, making them also aware of certain things. But it's one-on-one coaching, but also in groups,
Yeah.
to make people think, asking a lot of questions instead of making assumptions, and so it's. I think it's further than only the one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you think the culture and leadership style fit with the sustainable HR policy and the practices?
Yes, I think this is key. I think this is crucial for for sustainability in general, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
To keep learning, to keep adapting, you need this.
Yeah. Thomas, I still have two more topics, but I don't know if you have a ride home or not.
Can we do it in 5 minutes?
I guess so. I guess so. So I will put it like in 3 questions, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one would be why is sustainable HRM important in accordance with the strategic goal of the non?
Yeah. This is actually part of the strategy of the known, focusing on the talent development, and talent management, and maintaining the health and well-being of the employees. It's one of the pillars. Yes.
So it's like it is integrated into the whole system.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I also saw in the website there are like some programs that the non has already been running. Like it's called the Hope Code and Eve program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, and those are really programs to give a more hands-on feel.
Yeah, but I don't really understand if they are like a part of the whole system or just the individual program. And